Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have an early impression on a fragrance that has taken me a while to kind of come around to. It's a house that I've never talked about on the channel before. And, whenever I do these new house videos on a fragrance I've never talked about before on the channel, it's more than just the fragrance I'm talking about. It's also almost like an initial prognosis of the house, if you will, because you're getting to know the house, the way that the perfumer uses the material, the quality of the materials, the blending, the price point, all of that kind of begins to come into play. And this is actually a scent split sample that was sent to me very kindly by one of you. Thank you very much. One of my perfume god people sent me this. And this is called Arrakis. And Arrakis is a Tiziana Terenzi creation. And Tiziana Terenzi is a brother and sister, third generation Italian candle and perfume making company. So apparently they claim they're dedicated to some of the world's most exquisite scents. Very Italian, Italiano. And so their siblings, apparently, Tiziana is a teacher and designer, and Paolo is a well-respected Italian perfumer. He makes the fragrances, I believe. And they launched their brand about a decade ago. I know nothing about the brand. I mean, I know what I've kind of heard about the brand, but this is the first time actually doing a video, giving it a full wear, that kind of stuff. But before we get into it, we actually have a little bit of a double header because we've got an unboxing today. So this is not something that I purchased. This was actually very kindly sent to me by Al Manzano, a friend of the channel, and actually a friend of mine. Not just a friend of the channel, but a friend of mine. Me and him will talk occasionally. I mean, we've had conversations on the phone for 30, 45 minutes before, and he's a great guy. He actually did a live stream with me. If you go to my playlist and go check out the, go to my playlist and click on interviews, and you will see the Al Manzano interview, and we talked about stuff like Portos and a bunch of stuff like that. So thank you, Al. It's very kind of you to send me this. I know you didn't have to. This was something that he just kind of picked up on his own. He was like, hey man, I got one of these and I heard you talking about it and I thought you would want it. And so I'm sending it to you. So that was very kind of him. Thank you. Thank you, Al. So this is a fragrance that actually I've heard great things about, and multiple people have brought this fragrance to my attention, and somebody sent me a couple mils of juice, very kindly of them, so I'm happy to have this. I'm happy to have this bigger bottle, but the fragrance this is what was sent to me earlier, just a couple of drops, beautiful little packaging. It's Cuir de Russie by a house called Anna Zworynkina. Anna Zworynkina? Zworynkina. And here, let's open this up. Great packaging. Ah, look, he got me the big boy bottle. Okay, here you go. So it's the Cuir de Russie. And so this is the one that was sent to me previously, very kindly. Both people very kind. Look, the juice color is a little different. Obviously, once air gets in, sometimes you'll see the juice color change a bit. But oh, I'll tell you what, just smelling it from the atomizer is, oh, I could do that all day, man. Let me tell you what, it is stunning from the atomizer. Oh, I love these type of scents. But the thing is that I love Cuir de Russie, period. I love Russian leather fragrances. I also have found that I really love Spanish leather fragrances. And so I like the little box that it comes in. Beautiful. I like her little logo and her symbol. And she's really, how would you describe her? She is really, I think, on the newer indie side of things. You know, she's not anywhere near as large as, you know, some of these up-and-coming houses that have kind of hit the big time, let's say. She's not as big as Papillon. She's not as big as something like, you know, Francesca Bianchi, for example, who I kind of, you know, they're also in smaller perfumers, but their brands have really come up. She's still a little bit less known. Queer de Russie, Anna, here she is, Anna Zworyinkia. God, I'll never be able to pronounce stuff. Just accept it. And the next person that leaves me a message saying you can't pronounce stuff, I'm blocking. But Queer de Russie is apparently a spicy, leathery fragrance with galbanum, leather, bergamot, yuzu, absinthe, tar, mugwort. I love tar. I love tar notes in a fragrance. Orange blossom, may rose, jasmine, ylang ylang, clove, tobacco, oak moss, patchouli, labdanum, vetiver, South Pacific sandalwood, very specific. Ambret, castoreum, one of my favorite notes, and ambergris. And this is a complex, deep, resinous. I can tell from the, I can tell for sure from the bottle already. Let me see if there's anything about the house. No, nothing about the house on Parfumo, unfortunately. Let's see if maybe I just Google search her name just out of curiosity. Anna Zworyinkina. So she sells on Etsy. Handcrafted perfume essences. Artisan perfumer house, pure and natural essences for almost 15 years. I create my perfumes only with essential oils, CO2 extracts, absolutes, and my own plant tinctures. Very interesting. I have over 500 natural ingredients in my perfumery palette and select only the best quality perfumery materials. No synthetic materials, no animal testing by me or my suppliers, and no isolates. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. Apparently Luca Turin said nice things about her. Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, so she sells on Etsy, and her stuff is not cheap. This was not cheap, so thank you, Al. You know, I love smoky, animalic, leathery perfumes, and this is, I mean, if you put Arige Ladore or, you know, Bortnikov or one of these well-known indie brands, and I don't think this is anywhere near as expensive. Let's see what her Queer de Russie sells for. Man, she has way more perfumes than I thought. She has a lot of fragrances. I'm looking at her Etsy list right now. Queer de Russie, Russian leather. Okay, here we go. $101.31 is what she sells her Queer de Russie for. Very specific. $101.31. Okay. How big is it? 6 mils? How much was this, Al? That can't be right. This thing they're showing here is not 6 mils. I'm going to have to look into this price more. 8 mils extract. I wonder if this is the 8 mil bottle. This might be the 8 mil bottle. This might be the one that's 101. So I bet you this was even more. Thanks, Al. Very kind of you. But it's not cheap, okay? Let's put it that way. Beautiful from the Atomizer. Can't wait to wear it. I might even wear that to work tomorrow and just offend everybody. I don't even care. So let me put this away before I lose it in the beautiful little box. You go back to your home for a little while. Cannot wait to wear you. Okay. So let's get into the whole point of the video, which was, thank you, Al, by the way. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Which was this little bad boy. Tiziana Terenzi's Arrakis. Now, this one came out in 2019, okay? And here's how they describe Arrakis. Now, first of all, I should also say that Tiziana Terenzi's collection, I don't know anything about the house, by the way, so this is all new, but here's what they say from the brand, if you will, like a little press release. Tiziana Tiziana Terenzi's collection is inspired by travel and emotion shared around a fire. Each perfume is handcrafted and includes 24 karat gold details. I don't care about that. Highest quality hand-blown Italian glass. I don't care about that. Wood inserts or caps from rare woods of Italy. I don't care about that. And hand-sewn Italian leather inserts. Don't care about that. I just care about the juice. Why we love what we do. Paolo loves to work only with raw materials. Paolo loves to work only with natural raw materials that he sources personally and uses to imbue each fragrance with a natural and evocative spirit. Tiziana has a sophistication and love for beautiful elegance, and she is able to express in the unsurpassed quality of each Tiziana art object. It's not a fragrance, it's an art object. Okay, so Arrakis is a fragrance of unexpected contrast between light and dark, with a seductive strength creating an intense comet trail of scent that will never go unnoticed. Never, ever. Arrakis begins with a warm, exotic embrace with precious Tahitian vetiver, accentuating notes of Virginia tobacco, trailing off into wood notes of Indian red patchouli and gaiac from the Antilles. This creation is founded on a heady blend of woods and oriental notes, leading an incredible persistence to the citrus top notes. The base reveals Brazilian Mato Grosso tonka bean, ambergris, and musk, complemented by the intense, imposing force of Cambodian oud. 100 mils retails for $450 US. Okay, so there's good news though. If you like this brand, deals can be found. In fact, there's 3 testers for sale on Max Aroma, which if you're a non-New York resident, you pay no sales tax. So it's just $155, and I think you get free shipping sometimes. And a tester, 100 mils, $155 for something that retails for $450. That is a fair deal. If you go for the non-tester though, just the regular 100 mil, you don't want the tester. Why wouldn't you want the tester? It's $224, but the tester at $155 sounds much better. But so here's what I will say about this. First of all, look at the color of the juice. You see how it looks kind of red? What does that remind you of? I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Robitussin cough syrup when I was a little kid. Okay. And Robitussin cough syrup has a very distinctive, you're probably, as I said the word, you're probably almost tasting the cough syrup that your mother gave you as a kid, you know, that red, cherry, you know, just, you almost never forget that taste, right? All you have to do is see the color of the juice and you think of Robitussin cough syrup. What's strange about the opening of this fragrance is when you first spray it, not for long, but maybe 10 to 20 seconds, it is Robitussin cough syrup and tobacco, okay, with some citrus. And it's like, it's there. I mean, you're just going, wow, this is cough syrup. I mean, serious cough syrup. And I know that many people used to say that about Yop Om. When you first spray Yop Om, that pink juice, maybe it's mental, you know, maybe it's like in the brain. You see that pink juice and you're like, man, this is going to smell like cough syrup, and then it does. Like your brain forces you to smell what you're thinking. But it goes away, luckily, and it doesn't last long. You know, you'll notice it if you're someone that really is paying attention to the way that the scent is breaking down, but it quickly goes away. And it does, some of those citruses do start to kind of begin to come out, if you will. And so what you end up getting on the citrus side is you get some grapefruit and some lemon and some thyme and a very important note. There's 3 or 4 main notes to this composition. One of the most important is osmanthus, and it's basically an osmanthus tobacco. And when I say osmanthus tobacco, there should be only one fragrance that comes to your mind, one main fragrance that comes to your mind, osmanthus and tobacco. and it's basically Herod. Okay, this was the very first thing that I thought of whenever I smelled Arrakis. I thought osmanthus, tobacco, Herod. But there's a problem. So whenever you have or whenever you look at these Parfums de Marly bottles, right? Unless you really know the brand, you're not going to know every single one. They each have their own little tint of color, and this is kind of silvery gray, metallic looking. Carlisle is like black. Well, I don't know the brand of Parfum de Marly that well. So when I looked on, fragrances that this reminds me of, I saw this bottle and my brain went, Herod, that must be it. That's the Osmanthus tobacco one. And then when I re-looked at it again, I was like, wait a minute, that bottle's black. They're not talking about Herod at all. They're talking about Carlisle. Well, I've never smelled Carlisle, but just out of curiosity, I kind of looked at the notes, and there's no osmanthus. There's no tobacco even. It's nutmeg, green apple, tonka bean, rose, patchouli, and vanilla. So I've never smelled Carlisle. If you guys have smelled Carlisle and you think it smells like Arrakis, I'd love to know your thoughts, because the only thing I can think of is that osmanthus has this peachy nectarine vibe to it. It has also a slightly animalic tone, and it has a leathery undercurrent. This undercurrent of leatheriness with the osmanthus. And maybe the green apple with the nutmeg, let's say, is giving off that osmanthus-like vibe. But the other thing about Arrakis, what kind of makes it a little bit unique and what takes it in its own direction, is there's a big dose of saffron, okay? And I did an entire video on saffron. You can go check it out. Actually, I have some real saffron right here. And I talked about it on the saffron video that I did. And I think saffron is a big player in this fragrance. It makes it, so what it basically does is it takes it from what I was expecting, which was a tobacco forward fragrance, and it turns it into something different, okay? It turns it into this Middle Eastern style fragrance. So you get the osmanthus and you get the saffron. If you remember, I was talking about Roja's Majestic Oud, which came out 1 year before this, okay? And that also uses a big saffron and a big osmanthus note, but it goes in a completely different direction. It doesn't go tobacco. It goes cypriol and, trying to almost trick you into thinking you're smelling oud when you're not. I think it's a big floral osmanthus fragrance with that Roja base that they kind of created for many of his Middle Eastern lines that they just repeat over and over again. And so with Arrakis, you kind of get this vetiver tobacco as it begins to dry. And so I thought Herod was the first thing that popped into my mind. But then, once you put that cherry cough syrup into your mind in the opening, even though it goes away, sometimes it tends to linger in my brain. So I'm smelling it, and I'm not getting the cherry that I thought I was getting in the opening, that strange cherry cough syrup that feels like it's there for about 10 or 20 seconds and it's gone, And when that cherry cough syrup really first came in, and I thought tobacco and cherry, there was one line that popped in my head. And you know what it is? It was this. It was L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum, okay? And so the Extreme actually has tobacco. Now this has plum. There's no plum in Arrakis. There's actually very little fruit. There's no fruit at all, other than the fact that osmanthus can have this nectarine, peach, fruity-like vibe, okay? But there is saffron and rosemary, but that tobacco, the tobacco with that cherry kind of reminded me, I'm trying to give you guys an idea of where this fragrance falls, because this was actually a very tough fragrance for me to break down. Very tough, and I'll tell you why. The reason that this fragrance was tough for me to break down is when you first spray Arrakis, you basically are going to get one of two responses depending on where you're at in your journey. You're either gonna you're either gonna get an eye roll, okay, and not an eyes roll in your back of your head, good either, but like another one of these eye roll, or you're gonna get someone who's like, yes, this is it. And the difference lies on how you think about perfume. So I will have people subscribe to my channel who, let's say they're newer to the channel, I don't know very well, and they'll write me a question asking about a fragrance, and the first thing they ask is, guess what? Guess what the very first thing they ask is? Not what it smells like, not how it makes you feel, but how's the performance? Does it last 12 hours? Does it last 20 hours? Does it project? What's the projection like? Is it 3 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet? If you're that kind of person, you will love this. This is you all day. And I'm not talking down to these kind of people. However, I will say that as you become a little bit more mature in your fragrance journey, the projection, the performance doesn't mean as much, because guess what? I just respray, okay? Bring the bottle with you, respray every 5 hours, whatever, 6 hours, whatever you feel like, just reapply. To the person that wants beast mode, longevity, and all this stuff, you will dig this house. This house is for you. It is much more of an intense experience. Let's put it that way. So you're either going to get one of two reactions. Eye roll, oh, another one of these heavy, amber woody, Middle Eastern style fragrances, or you're going to get the other side of the coin where they're like, yes, that's what I want. I want a fragrance that lasts all day. And the thing about Tiziana Terenzi scents from the research I've done is they're all in X-ray. Okay, so they're all X-ray. Now, that is good and bad, and we'll talk about that here. Well, we can talk about it now. But the issue with the X-ray is that it's a higher concentration of perfume oil. Okay, so what that means is it does usually last longer on your skin. You might be able to see kind of the sheen from the last time I sprayed an hour ago or whatever it is. It lasts a long time. It takes a long time to kind of dry, and the longevity is fantastic. The issue with X-rays or pure parfums, basically the same thing, that's the same way of saying the same thing, is that they sit much closer to the skin. Okay, so they don't project. Eau de toilettes, the concentration of alcohol is greater, and so the alcohol tends to evaporate faster, and it's actually that evaporation of alcohol which makes the fragrance project. Eau de parfum has higher concentration of perfume oils than eau de toilette. That means less alcohol content, which means it's not projecting, it's not, giving off as much of a projection. Eau de parfum is a great kind of middle of the road, it's a great compromise, if you will, between the eau de toilettes and the X-rays, which are supposed to last a very long time, but they don't really project that great. So this fragrance was very hard for me to break down, because when I first sprayed it, I basically just got a ball of woody ambers, just like, a tightly wound ball of woody ambers. And I couldn't make anything out. I mean, it's just woody ambers. That's it. When you smell, it's just cough syrup and this tobacco-y woody amber thing. And you're going, man, this is, if you're just going, give me the projection that lasts forever and I don't care about the smell, you may love that. If you're really trying to enjoy the smell, if you're used to wearing stuff that's maybe a little bit more distinguished, okay, distinguished is a great word. Elegant is another word. If you're used to wearing something elegant, if you're used to wearing Chanel's, Quai de Russie, or speaking of Chanel, by the way, I heard a very interesting rumor today. It is Monday, November 7th, okay? And I heard that Chanel is shutting down production for the rest of the year because they're potentially gearing themselves up to be sold. How's that for a bombshell, if that's true? Now, it could be a rumor. It was some lady on, Super Dakeup's channel or whatever it's called, who's claimed that her sales rep or something in the Chanel store told her this, that it was like secret information, and that, but that they're shutting down production because they should be sold. But I know I'm going off on a tangent, but that information just kind of blew my mind today. If that's true, that's crazy. So who knows? I mean, maybe that means stock up on your Chanels, because who knows who's buying them if that's true. But if you like wearing something like Chanel, Cuir de Russie by Chanel, or, you know, something that's more elegant, distinguished, you know, old money scent. You know, old money doesn't have to shout, doesn't have to scream. It's more reserved, right? It's the new money that kind of likes to boast and flaunt and that kind of stuff, right? And so if you're more of the laid back, distinguished, you don't need to shout, you don't need to be in the middle of everything, you can kind of stand back and watch sometimes, then this kind of scent is not going to be for you, because even though it's an X-ray, and even though it sits a little bit closer to the skin, and by the way, I think that's the only thing that makes this bearable. If this was an eau de toilette or an eau de parfum, forget about it. This thing would be projecting like hell, like mad. But since it is an X-ray, even though it really does feel like there's a big dose of woody ambers in this fragrance, I like it. I like it because it does a couple things. It kind of walks that line between loud and obnoxious, and also a little bit more reserved because it's an X-ray. And the other thing that this fragrance does that kind of shocked me a little bit is, well, number one, it's a tobacco scent. Tobacco scents are extremely easy sells for me. Some tobacco scents I plan on talking about on the channel. This is one that's very challenging. You talk about the king of loud. This is one that it's compared to Mancera's Red Tobacco. I just can't buy another Mancera bottle, so I got this decant. But I'll talk about this on the channel. Frank Bachlitz's Tobacco is another one. And, you know, I love tobacco. Tobacco is an easy sell for me, right? And so the tobacco in this, I instantly like. It's right up my alley. This kind of stuff and leather are no-brainers for me, okay? And so when I smell this, I'm thinking, man, this is something that I really enjoy. I'm enjoying the tobacco. But the part that really kind of threw me off guard, the thing that I wasn't expecting with this fragrance, is that there are actually transitions with this scent. Interestingly enough, I thought it was just going to be, from the first time you spray it and you get that ball of woody ambers, you're going to think there's no way this thing progresses. It's just going to pump off the skin. It's just going to be a ball of woody amber, right? And that's not actually true. Surprisingly, there are transitions in the scent. Now, it's nothing crazy. It's not like it goes from, you know, this side of the hemisphere to this side of the hemisphere and back again. It's very slight and it's slow, and there's not huge differences to it. But I think the biggest difference is in the base, you will start to get some of this Cambodian oud note. And the Gaiac wood can sometimes give off this barbecue wood-like vibe. And so you get a little bit of this smoked wood. And it could be the Gaiac wood mixing with the Cambodian oud. And the other thing is that the tonka bean in the base is not super sweet. Most tonka that you smell nowadays is disgustingly sweet, and it will put you off. And that's actually what I was really expecting from this house. But I didn't get it. I didn't get the super sweetness. I didn't get real ambergris like they say in the base. I mean, for 450 bucks, you might expect that. But I didn't get real ambergris. But I also didn't get this disgustingly sweet, or, you know, tonka or synthetic blue ambroxan in the base either. So that's why this fragrance was a little bit of a surprise for me, because I was kind of expecting to get something that was very cheap. Like, for example, go watch I did a blind sniff video. I got 8 samples from my Perfume God person. 4 of them were I did a video on a live stream just this weekend where I blind sniffed them and you know, displayed which ones they were. And one of them was a Maitrier Premier fragrance, which did that shit falcon leather that everyone that I know hates. But Zhao liked it. Love you, Zhao. I'm just kidding. But I still will never let you let that go. But as soon as I smelled that fragrance, and it was like Oud 7, it was Oud 7, that's what it was called. I smelled it and I went, oh, this is Latafa level, cheap. That's how it smells to me. Instantly I got that disgusting, cheap woody amber. And while this does smell like you're smelling synthetic materials and molecules, and it is big and loud and all this stuff, the fact that it transitions and the fact that it doesn't go straight to that super Latafa cheap, which sometimes there are some Latafa fragrances I like, so I'm not just completely bashing the house, but they do have a very distinct DNA, right? The fact that this didn't just go there, while this is not a full bottle for me, especially since I have, tobacco, I've got this tobacco, which I need to wear this winter. I've got Herod, which is an osmanthus tobacco, which I think is probably the closest thing to Arrakis, although people say Carlisle. I can't speak to that because I've never smelled Carlisle. But it's obviously in this osmanthus tobacco range. Now, I don't think there's any vetiver here. This is also more peppery. This Arrakis is not as peppery. It relies more on the Middle Eastern saffron. If you like Middle Eastern style fragrances, I would urge you to give this a shot. See, when smelling it from the atomizer, I'm getting that cough syrup note that maybe the cough syrup is kind of the oud bit in the base. I don't know. It's very strange. It's a very strange phenomenon with this perfume. And that's why it took me a while to do this. I mean, this wasn't full when I got it, but it was much more than this. I've worn this to bed once and now I've given it a full wear. And I still kind of feel like maybe there's more to the fragrance to discover. It's good. I've enjoyed it. It's not something that I would go run and buy a full bottle of, especially not at $450. And honestly, this house may just be something that I'm not going to be into. I don't own any full bottles from the house. Like I say, this is the first one. However, I do have a sample of another fragrance from this house that you will hear me talk about on the channel very soon. I think it's called Ladauno Nero, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it's a labdanum fragrance, and I love labdanum. Labdanum is one of my favorite notes. And so, yeah, Ladauno Nero, that's it. 2014 it came out. So you'll hear me talk about that one. That's supposedly an interesting one. I have a sample of that. So I will talk more about this house. I just don't know if I would be pulling the trigger on any bottles, if that makes sense. But very glad to get to talk about it. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on... I'd love to hear your feedback on Arrakis. And also, thank you, Al, for the very kind gift. I will be wearing this Cuir de Russie, I guarantee you. Maybe even tomorrow. Maybe I'll wear it to work. So, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate the feedback. Love hearing your thoughts and seeing your faces in the comments down below. And look forward to talking to you again soon. Cheers. Bye now.